It is time for a yep sesh. Alright, so we're gonna have a little yappy the yap sesh. Alright, it's actually just a trade recap, man, but a little bit yappy. Yap, yappa yappa. Oh my god, why did I say yappa yappa? It's crazy. Okay, this is why I need solid intros. One day I will be not lazy and make an intro and make an outro one day. God willing, one day. That day is not today, it's probably not tomorrow, but one day. So I'm gonna just stop yapping and get to cracking. If you watch News Daddy, you'll get the reference. Anyway, enough time wasting. So we had USD CAD sell yesterday. So yesterday, bro, we took three losses. Yes, three losses. I think it's the worst, one of the worst, like in terms of days. Oh man, I have well over 100 trades running here, and oh my god, I have well over 100 trades. Should I? Because there was three losses. There may have been other days where I took like three consecutive losses. Yeah, I did. There were days where I did take three losses in a row on like the same day, not even just in a row. It was on the same day. Okay, yeah. Point is there were days where I have one day. I'm not gonna check when, but there was a day. Okay, and okay, I'm not mad or I don't really feel a way about them simply because they are valid losses, right? Valid, even though it's a little bit iffy, just a tiny squinch bit iffy. Like this USD cap, right? The market was bearish at this point, right? 15-minute is bearish. 15-minute pulls back deep into this area over here. God, why can't I find the words? Right? And then auto flow switches back bearish, right? As you can see, the internal goes, and then we have another IBOS right here. We have this IBOS at 11. We have the IBOS at 11 here, and then now I'm thinking to myself, this is a reaction, right? So this is, oh my god, what's the name of this thing again? It's a flip. Is it a flip? Yes, where demand flips to supply. So it's a flip zone. Oh my god, this is a flip zone, right? You have this solid break, right? Not an iffy break, solid break as I would like to see, and then you have the M15-minute chalk right here coming back to test this, comes in, and then it chalks down again convincingly. And then at this point, you are playing between this supply and this demand down here, right? Between these two. And my frame of thought is, okay, this supply did in fact create a new internal low, right? We have come in back into the premium of this leg, right? So in my head, we should be selling, right? Aiming for this week swing low. But in terms of the immediate order flow right here, we did have a break of internal structure down. So in terms of comparison between these two zones, I'll say this is stronger because it actually created low, right? All this achieved was just a little chalk into the zone, which in when you think about it, all my train of thought was and would be, it switches like internally. It's like the internal of the internal, like, but this structure is a little bit more important than this one. So it switches bullish right here, but in my experience, it switches bullish just to facilitate the pullback into this, right? Whatever orders are in here are just facilitating the pullback into this before we have the continuation. And so in normal cases within here, say M15, if there's a chalk there, I'll be looking for like a M5-minute entry. I'll be looking for M5-minute entry. We don't get the strong liquidation coming into here until on until on the M15 we have another convincing chalk, right? Not an iffy one. The market actually breaks and closes below. It is at that point where I was convinced that okay, this zone held, right? And then it actually also created a chalk down, which is a sign of bearishness coming back in, and so I was comfortable taking the risk entry on this instead of waiting for a strong liquidation. And then we entered around the 6, I don't know, 6.2, 6 point something zone, whatever this zone is on the Fibonacci sequence. And then we took a loss, right? Hence I'm saying, okay, the only, like I'll say, real downside, not even that bad, it's out of session. But on USD-CAD, I did notice that doesn't really matter if it's out of session unless it's like Asia or something. But I'm not awake for Asia anyway, so it doesn't matter. I won't be finding trades in there if I'm not awake for it. But I'd say the only con to this was the fact that it was out of session. It was 2:15 and session reopen, like London New York crossover starts at 3 after the whatever the universal time shift, whatever thing, daytime saving, whatever. Now I'd say this was a decent idea, right? Decent idea. On another day this probably works. On another day it probably works. So yeah, a little unfortunate it didn't, but it is what it is. Right? It is what it is. Not a bad loss. I'd say it was still according to plan, and that's the biggest difference between this and other examples of trades that I have where you've taken the loss but it was not according to plan. It was just a bad loss in general. And then as a part of yesterday we had this GPUSD sell as a loss. This is from today, but I didn't actually enter this one. I didn't find the right conditions to enter. We'll touch on it a little bit. Just tiny wee bit. Okay. GP coming into yesterday, we had the end of Asia right there. Right, heavy momentum comes in, and in my mind, we hit this 4-hour zone. Expectations would be for a pullback, and then now I think to myself the worst thing I have done in here was like use the structure where it's not really the strongest of structure where price moved up down, closed above, because this is just a sweep. If you can look here, it's just a sweep. You probably want to see something like this, right, where it closes above the high, right, closes above the high, and then creates this low right here. Then it would give this pattern right here, better structure, right? But the idea is, okay, we come into the 4-hour zone, it's been heavily bullish. At some point we need to have a pullback. So I'd say this is a little bit on the lower end in terms of probabilities, because it's the same as trying to catch a falling knife, right? Where you're trying to stop all this momentum and go down. That's what you're essentially trying to do. But the area in which all of this is happening is also important, right? It's within a it's within a zone that is highly likely to show some selling pressure, right? So even though it was iffy, right, not with like the direct close, like a candle close like this one up here, it was just a sweep and then comes down and then tests the first test of this 4-hour zone. So you are kind of caught in between supply and demand. But I did have a little bit of conviction for this zone, even though this is set all the way here. The entry was probably in there somewhere, even though it's set off to the side. So the idea was basically trying to play the pullback, right? This is technically an IBOS. Technically an IBOS. Well, it's iffy though, man. It is iffy. Even though it's technically an IBOS. But it is a little bit iffy. Not the best in terms of structure, this trade, but also not too off the plan, I think. Yeah, not the best trade, I think. Maybe I should have avoided this, maybe. Because the thing is, it did coincide with Euro USD around the same time. So this was 4, and this one was 3, I believe. Yeah, so this was like 15 minutes before Euro USD. And while all this is happening, you have this thing of, oh shit, okay, once EU and GU align, you start to think to yourself, the chances of it selling are higher because they align, right? You see the same thing on both pairs, even though they're both like USD related, which means you're more than likely to see the same thing. It in your mind, it kind of just plays with the mind a little bit, right? Where you'd have a little bit more conviction than usual because you see the same idea in two places. And previously I did say to myself, excuse me, I would indeed play both ideas because it is different pairs, and this one could hit me out and the other one work out, even though they essentially move close to about the same, like they are correlated, something like that, like a moving correlation. So not the best, I would say, but not horrible as well. Same as this EU one, same idea. We come into this 4-hour zone. This is yesterday as well. This is the third loss, by the way, in the trio of yesterday's losses. Same idea. We come into the 4-hour, and then you can start seeing like the internal shift right there. This would be an IBOS, even though the real IBOS would be down here, because if you look at the internal, which is the smaller structure, this is where the swing low would be. But in terms of pullbacks, you would start looking at this as IBOS because it's the internal structure moving. So same, we have this internal structure move, then come down. This would be my internal high, and then on this one as well, I was looking for the risk entry, right? Since there was no chart, which means I'm not required to wait for M5 minute strong liquidation. And unfortunately, if you would look at this, how many pips, bro? 2, 3, 36, 37. What is it, like 10 pips? Not even 10, but is it 10? Yeah, about 10 pips. No, micro pips. That would be a pip. About 10 micro pips, yeah. So the stop loss was hit out for about 10 micro pips, and the idea works out, man, because it comes into the 4 hour when you think this is a good area of value to start seeing this 15-minute swing pullback. I am right on the swing pullback. The only problem is the timing, right? Because timing is everything, man. You can be right about direction, but if you don't have the timing down, then you don't have a winner on your hands. It's as simple as that. So yeah, timing on this one beat me. 10 times out of 10, I'm taking this trade again. On another day, it does work out. Not a horrible idea. It's a decent idea. And we get hit up by like 10 micro pips. Look at that, man. You need a magnifying glass to see this, man. 10 micro pips and you're out. Right, you're out. Just after you get hit out, it does exactly as you thought it would do. So yeah, sometimes you do have days like these where you take 3 losses. The thing that makes me happy is a few months ago I would have been pissed off at taking 3 losses because I know there would have been 3 avoidable losses where I shouldn't have been in those trades to begin with. So these ones, not bad actually, because it's according to the plan, man. And a part of showing up is actually executing on the plan when you see an opportunity. So can't hesitate, even though I am, I think, on a 4 trade losing streak as of now. I can't hesitate, man. When the next trade shows up and it's according to the plan, no hesi. Because once you hesitate, you're gonna miss out on that winner that covers all these losses, right? So there is no hesi. I just execute. And then this was today. Excuse me. This was today on GBP USD. On GBP USD, we had the sweep of the Asian low, right? Sweep of the Asian low, convincing chalk, right? And then I was looking for that immediate play within here, right? Because it goes up, closes above. I was looking to follow it immediately within here. It just came back in about this much. It missed the entry by about 10 micro pips, right? And then moved up. At that point, I then switched to the M5 over here. I then switched to the M5 looking for a strong liquidation, right? Because it had gone up, down, and up over here. So this was my strong liquidation here. And then there was no valid entry until it swept the zone, which means I ended up not taking a loss. I ended up not taking a loss or a trade within here because of actually following the rules, right? At first it was a valid risk entry right there, but once it created the strong liquidation, then I have to switch to the M5 and not follow the risk entry because there's a strong liquidation that has occurred, and then I had to wait for the M5 to close above the strong liquidation, which we did not get, which in turn saves me from taking a loss because I'm following the plan. Simple as that, man. Follow the bloody plan. Yeah, that's it for today. Today, really, I think this GU was the best thing to happen today. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll see tomorrow's what, Friday. Fridays are usually slow. They do take losses on Fridays. We'll see though. If an opportunity arises, it's no hezzy. Peace.